I'm Christine Burdick, and I'm the president of the Tampa Downtown Partnership, and we're very happy to kind of be your host tonight for this first meeting. I want to remind you before we start to turn off your cell phones so that you can stay specifically engaged with our process. You're very important people because you came, and that means you care, and it's very important to have you as part of this process as well as all of your neighbors and your coworkers. So please encourage all of your colleagues and your friends to pay attention to the schedule. You received the next 3 meetings scheduled on the agenda on your table. Please put it on your calendar, tell your friends to come. We'll be able to accommodate them, and it's like so important for you to be part of this process. And now it's my pleasure. We're going to keep this going. This is going to be, you will be out at 8 o'clock. We promise that. There's a number of different things that you're going to do tonight. But the most exciting thing that I think we're going to hear, first of all, is from our mayor, Mayor Buckhorn, who is really kind of the impeter and the father of this process. So, Mayor Buckhorn, would you give us an introduction, please?
I heard that she almost said grandfather. Christine, that's not nice. To all of you, thank you very much. This really is an exciting time for me, particularly. A year ago when I took office, one of the things that I was absolutely committed to do is to find a way to invigorate our downtown core and to make sure that all of the neighborhoods around our downtown core felt part of that urban experience, because our downtown can't survive without neighborhoods that are alive, that are vibrant, that are engaged, where people live, work, and play in the same environment, and then come to downtown Tampa to make downtown Tampa the destination. I mean, downtown's everyone's front door. It is everyone's front door. Whether you live in Tampa Palms or whether you live in Ballast Point, we need to have a downtown that's thriving and a downtown that is engaged and a downtown that is alive, a place where the best and the brightest, that creative class that Richard Florida wrote about, want to come and be a part of. And, intellectual capital is mobile, folks. The days of us and our kids being locked to a job based on proximity to a plant or proximity to a factory or proximity to manual labor are over. Those days are long gone. Today, intellectual capital is mobile. And those best and brightest young kids, what they possess is contained in their head. And they can live anywhere in the world. And so, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of that brain drain leaving Tampa, Florida, heading for places like Austin, Texas, and Raleigh, Durham, and Charlotte, North Carolina. I want those young kids to stay here. But in order to do that, we've got to have a downtown and an urban core that is hopping, that's hip, that's cool, where these young programmers can work all night and skateboard, although not on the marble, all day, where they can go to a coffee shop, where they can hang out on the riverfront, where the neighborhoods on the west bank of the riverfront feel as much a part of our downtown core as the Channel side does, where Ybor City is connected to Tampa Heights, where Tampa Heights feels a part of the West Bank, where the folks in North Boulevard Home have an opportunity to recreate their lives and live in the dignity that they deserve, where the University of Tampa is a major economic engine in our downtown core, where 7,000 students that add life to our city. Don't look at those bridges as obstacles, but look at those bridges as pathways to a better future and to better opportunities. What we are doing here today and what you are doing here today is the beginning. It's not the end. This is just the beginning of the process that I think will change this city in more ways than we can ever imagine. Out of this will come our blueprint for the development process and the development patterns and the development of this city for the next 20 years. And it's not going to be a plan that's driven from the mayor's office down. That is exactly what I don't want. What I want is a plan that's driven from you up. From North Hyde Park, from Riverside Heights, from Tampa Heights, from Channel Side, from Ybor City. I want this plan to embody all of your hopes and all of your aspirations of what you want for this city and what you want your legacy to be and what do you want this city to look like, certainly for my 2 daughters and for your kids and grandkids as well. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us. We are embarking on a project that has never been undertaken of this magnitude in this city before, in terms of laying out a blueprint for what we could be. We've talked about it. We've dreamed about it. We've had fits and starts, but we have never laid out in very concrete terms a plan for the future development of our community. And with the help of the Urban Land Institute, on two fronts, both as Rose Fellows and as the panel that we brought down here in Tampa, as a result of our relationship with HUD, who has given us about $1.1 million in planning money, with the help of our partners at AECOM. And when I set out to do this, I wanted fresh eyes on this problem. I wanted folks who had done this all over the world, who could bring a different perspective. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not settling for second best anymore. I'm not settling for mediocre. I'm not settling for some of our kids staying here. I'm not settling for finishing second to Charlotte, North Carolina, when I remember when Charlotte used to come here to see how we did things. I'm just not settling anymore, and nor should you. So our task is really, really quite simple. It's to put our best minds to what we are embarking on tonight. I want the energy, I want the aspirations, I want the hope that all of you contain for a better future for this city. But it's not going to be easy. We've got to get at this task. We've got to believe in each other. We've got to believe in what that future could look like down the road. We can't settle. I didn't run for this office to finish second place. I ran to win. And we need to win this race, because we're not going to finish second anymore. So today we begin. Today we begin. Community-wide, community-driven, community-based, from the sidewalks up. You're going to tell us what you want. You're going to tell us what our future could look like. You're going to tell us what our city should look like. And at the end of this, they will say this is where it began. They will say this is where it all came together. They will say this is where Tampa's next chapter began. This is it, folks. I need you to stay involved, not just tonight. This is a great turnout. This is an overflow crowd. Not just tonight, but every time we get together. We have some of the world's best and brightest coming here to talk to you and talk with us about what we could do and what we could be. So I need you engaged. It's not going to happen this week. It's going to take months of hard work. We aren't always going to agree, but we're always going to be together. So let's get this started. Let's get this started. I don't sleep. I don't expect you to. This is our chance. This is our chance to get it done. So the person that's going to follow me is the person that's going to be on the ground from AECOM. He's the project manager. His name is Pete Seckler. He's going to be the guy that's going to be guiding us through this. He's going to be introducing his boss shortly, a world-renowned thinker and planner at AECOM, someone who is very, very widely respected in the planning world worldwide. And so, thank you for being here. But more importantly, thank you for believing in what our future could be. Let's go get it done now.
Thank you for being here. The first thing I want to do is the old-fashioned pastor's call. There is literally an empty pew in the front. And I know there's some folks in the back. If you want to come on up to the front, there is an empty table, and there's some other empty chairs around. Feel free to come in and fill out the tables. The other thing I want to say is that just in terms of how we're going to do things tonight, we are going to work straight through to 8 o'clock. And if you feel like you need to get up, you need to walk around, you need to get refresh your drink, just feel free to do those things, and we'll just keep on going. What I want to do is just take a couple of minutes and just give you a little bit of just sort of the structure of the project so you understand, at least at a high level, what we're doing and kind of where you can go to access some more resources. We have a lot of engagement things that we're going to do running on multiple platforms, and it's important to us that you know how to access that. First of all, we have a big team. We've got some really engaged, excited folks. And you see the names of the firms here. There's a number of folks in the room. If you're connected to the design and planning team, just raise your hand in any way. And if there's any specific questions that you have that you'd like to talk with someone one-on-one, seek those folks out or seek me out tonight. And I want to give a particular recognition to Randy Goers with the City of Tampa. He is the city's project manager on this, and he's worked extremely hard to get us to this opening night. Randy's done an outstanding job. And I will give Randy a round of applause. What we're going to do for the balance of the evening, I'm going to give the quick project overview. I'm going to touch on geography, schedule, and the engagement platform. Joe Brown is going to speak to you with a few thoughts about Tampa and some thoughts about cities in general that I think will spur some thought. And then we're going to have a table exercise that's going to allow you to reflect on Tampa's past and future and share some ideas with each other. First of all, just sort of where is the project? What are we studying? The project has got a couple geographic components. The first is what we're calling the Center City Plan that you see on the maps around the room. It's basically from 30th in Ybor over to Armenia in North Hyde Park. It comes up and captures West Shore. It captures Tampa Heights, comes up to about MLK, and then comes down and captures downtown and Channelside. That's what we're primarily focused on tonight. However, as we proceed, there is also a very important corridor running up from Nebraska to Hillsborough, and that's going to be the corridor planning assignment that we're going to start to work on in more detail in a few months. The way the schedule works is about the next 6 months to about October 1st, we're going to be focused very hard on this Center City area, and then after that we're going to shift gears and we're going to work on the corridor. And then we have some development standards and some other implementation things that we'll be tracking along over the balance of essentially the next calendar year. I won't review this calendar here. This is way too detailed. But just if you think about the next 6 months, I think the important takeaways are that over the next kind of 60 days, we're going to spend a lot of time talking to you, doing neighborhood walking audits, reaching out to the community. We're going to have more of these knowledge exchange forums, and we're going to get to a point the last week of July where we're going to have a real significant community design event. And we will be here, all of our designers will be here, and that'll sort of be the first cut at really trying to articulate some clear ideas for Tampa. And then while Tampa is working hard on the RNC during August, we're going to be back at the shop developing the things that came out of that workshop so that we can have the plan together, as I said, by the 1st of October. Does that make sense? That's the approach. Now, the engagement platform that we have is very, very dynamic and very exciting. It's a lot of the kind of traditional things that you think about when you think about a community citizen-based plan where we're talking one-on-one, face-to-face, having these kind of gatherings. But we're also having a very integrated platform of social and web-based and what we call our iTown media platform. And if you can visit w.invisiontampa.com, you can get on that site, and there's all of our calendar information, contact information. The iTown is on there. There are locations on here where you can submit your ideas for downtown, particularly, and the corridor, particularly related to some topics that we've set up. And then other folks can see your ideas and you can interact. And we've already got almost 200 hits on this thing with ideas. There's some real interesting dialogue that's already going on after just a couple of days. So I would really encourage you to hit this website, InVisionTampa.com. It's really pretty exciting, the activity that it's already getting. A couple of other details that I want you to understand about the engagement over the next 45, 60 days. We're going to be doing some neighborhood workshops that in some sense are probably the traditional neighborhood workshop that you've been at in the past. There are a couple of nuances though. We are first of all working within several areas of the community that you see here relative to the center city. We're going to conduct the meetings in a way that there's kind of a first half and a second half. The first half, we really want to put our feet on the street with as many of you as we can in that neighborhood and see it for ourselves and talk about it together. If you are able to make the walking audit, that will be about the first hour and a half of the meeting, and then we're going to take a little break, and then we'll have about a 2-hour-long community meeting back at the location where we're conducting the meeting. So I invite you to, again, go to the website, check those out. You can go to either session. We think of the community meeting as kind of the more mandatory portion of it. And if you can make the walking audit, then I think that will really enrich the discussion when we get to the community meeting. The other thing that we're doing that you may or may not have participated in before is what we call our citizen photography exercise. What we're looking for is about 30 volunteers out of this group. We hope to get a good spread covering the geography of our area, and we're going to have a little map that if you sign up, we're going to try to identify, you know, what street do you live on, what neighborhood are you in, where's your business, that type of thing, so that we know what kind of coverage we're getting. The goal is for you to take pictures of the things that are relevant to you about your neighborhood. So there's some fairly simple instructions. You take the pictures, we give you the camera, you bring the camera back to us, we get them developed, and then we work together in an evening exercise that takes about 3 hours, and we will sort and discuss all the pictures. We have a fairly organized way that we do this. This is a lot of fun. We've done it with a lot of different groups, and it's very, very helpful for us to see your community through your eyes using these cameras. The last thing that I think is very significant in this kind of time period are these knowledge sharing sessions. And I'm going to introduce Joe Brown here in a moment. Joe is going to chair these 4 sessions. And we think that coming out of the ULI work, certainly the notion of your public realm, having a livable and sustainable city, your open space, economic development, your transportation system, these are big topical areas that we think are very important to what the community dialogue has been to this point. And we want to allow you to interact with some folks that have really been national leaders in some of these topics. So we'll have the former planning director of the city of Seattle here. We're going to have the director of transportation for the city of Charlotte here. We're going to have the former economic development director of the city of San Diego here. Various folks are going to come in, and I think these are going to be interesting sessions. But I think the place to start is with Joe Brown, and let him share some thoughts with you about Tampa, and then from there we'll go to the table exercise. So Joe Brown, our Chief Innovation Officer for AECOM. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. You know, being Chief Innovation Officer for a worldwide company of 45,000 people, it makes a good first impression as a title, but it goes downhill very quickly because people get defensive and they start wondering why they're not a Chief Innovation Officer. So let's start with some things here. I'm going to work the crowd, so to speak. So when you think of Tampa, what is the first word that comes to your head? Somebody just say this. Yes, sir. Shoreline. Shoreline, okay. Another one. Good weather. Good weather, good one. Small town. Next great city. Water. Bayshore. Yes. Cigar. That's pretty good. What was another one? Palm trees. Okay, I like it. What's the Bucks? Oh, the Buccaneers, of course. I was thinking maybe you meant dollars.
How about a Cuban sandwich?
A Cuban sandwich, that's pretty good. Friendly's good. Okay, when you think of vision, what is the first word that comes to your mind? Short-sighted. That's good. Much vision is very short-sighted. What was over here? Innovative. That's good. Aspiration. Okay. Others. Direction. Good. That's very good. Others. I'm warming you up for later here. So, yes, sir. Big picture. What's the first word that comes to your mind when you think of planning? Planning. Vision. Baseball. New baseball stadium. Okay. You're an action-oriented group. You get right to solutions. Integrated. Organized. You have a very. This is a good city. You're good people. You care. You have a very positive view of planning. Boring. Yeah, that is a more logical answer, because I'm a planner, and I'm not a huge fan of planning, so you know where I'm coming from. Yeah. Disagreement. Yeah, that sure is true. Opportunity's good. Future's good. Process. Is that pejorative or positive? Yeah, there you go. Any more? Here, there's seats up front here, so you don't have to just wait in the back. I'll call on you even if you're way back here. Yeah, here you go. What do you think of planning? You love planning? That's said so quietly. Well, I have a little different view in some cases. I think there can be very bad vision, very bad planning, and very good planning and good vision. There can be so much vision, so many plans, so much dreams about a city that you can end up with too much vision, and which usually results in division. And there's a very wise man said, a Frenchman said, which France and Paris are known for good planning. A Frenchman said, when asked, is there enough vision in this plan? He said, we have plenty of vision. We have so much vision, we have division. What we need is something else. We need something called engrenage. So for those of you who are French or know French, engrenage means gearing together, engaging and gearing. So to me, it's not about the planning, the vision, the strategy. It is about that, but it's mostly about positive gearing together. If you don't make the gears turn in the same direction, there's vision, planning, strategy, no point. You just have division without engrenage. So I would ask you to all think about that very carefully as we move forward. It's about getting something done. It's about connecting those gears and getting them moving in the same direction. I'm a planner who has failed and succeeded and failed and succeeded. Not exactly in that order, but anyway. So, the engrenage effort is the single most successful character of the work. So we're not going to come up with a solution for every problem. We're not even going to be comprehensive. We're going to be highly targeted. We're going to look for maybe less than a dozen critical actions that we gear together with you to make happen to ignite the city forward. So once you try to cover every issue and every economic opportunity, you fail. Once you try to be the comprehensive planner that covers every minute element, you fail. So we're going to be very targeted. We're going to be clear action that can happen fairly quickly. I don't believe much in 20-year plans. They take care of 20 years takes care of itself. We need to work on 5 years. So that's what we're going to be doing. And I'm glad the mayor's shaking his head because I didn't clear this with him first. So now what I want to do is take you away from Tampa, and we're going to look at some cities around the United States. And here's a stadium for you, which we did in Seattle. And what's great about that stadium is the arch of those supports, those trusses, match the arches of the railroad trusses of the railroad station 200 years before it. So, you can integrate, you can be inspired by the past, you can be inspired by design. Design can be integrated with planning. Planning can integrate and inspire design. I don't believe in a separation between finance, design, and planning. I believe you put that all together and come up with critical actions. And that's what we did in Seattle. So let's look at Tampa. Here's Tampa. Now, one of the things that I think is very important is holistic answers. You do not want a transportation solution. You want a transportation solution plus an open space solution plus pedestrian solutions plus economic plus social issues plus design plus environment and water. So you don't want one component solution. You want the integrated solution. because that's the way of the future, not separate departments, not separate departmental answers. In fact, the mayor of Chicago has put all his department heads right outside his door. So this is translating into governance. So you don't let these department heads go off and create their own empire and create their own isolated silo solutions. You put them right outside his door, and he pounds on them every day to agree on integrated solutions. So next. Now we're looking at, for Tampa, a 2-mile radius focus, plus the Nebraska corridor. And externalities as they're important. But I want you to, that's Seattle looking at a 2-mile radius. So you have the downtown, you have the Lake Washington, you have the North Shore, you have the waterfront, and you have some of the surrounding neighborhoods. 2 miles, although sounds small, is vast, and there's a lot of intense neighborhood patterns, and there's a lot of intricacy. So let me just show you this scale on a few other cities. Here we are in Boston, Tampa. No, that says, yes, excuse me, it's Boston, yeah. That's definitely the Charles River, I should know that. And you see the airport. Let's go back here. You see, you go from airport to Harvard in a 2-mile radius from downtown Boston. So it's really important to get a sense of scale, a sense of intensity and complexity to what you're trying to do. A 2-mile radius is deeply complex and very interesting. And then we go back to Tampa, and you see some comparable sense of complexity and detail. You see downtown, you see Channel Side, the University of Tampa, which we'll talk a lot about, the hospital we'll talk about, Harbor Island, Davis Island, the port. You've got a fantastic port. It's the largest tonnage port in Florida. It's the 7th largest in the world. It's the 2nd largest cruise ship terminal in Florida after Miami. The port is not talked enough about as an economic generator and an integrator with other opportunities. And it produces associated uses, manufacturing, distribution, production uses, which are really key to the private sector markets these days. Not so much headquarter buildings that look shiny downtown, but real manufacturing and production and distribution. So the port is a great place to start. Ybor City, talk about personality city. Ybor gives us all a personality, particularly when we go there and have a few drinks. Tampa Heights and Nebraska corridor. So there's just sort of savor that complexity, savor that diversity, realize what you're taking on, and don't go for the easiest answers, even despite what I said earlier. Okay, then the next one. So then here's San Diego. We think there's some similarities. There's a strong, diverse economic base in Tampa, much like San Diego. They're not dissimilar from a demographic and population point of view. They are quite different from an economic specifics point of view because of the enormous military, but you have the 15,000 folks at the Air Force Base here. So although that's not the size of San Diego, it's interesting. And you have the waterfront, you have the tourism, you have the climate. So there are interesting comparisons to be drawn. And you want to be knowledgeable about other cities. You're not competing with Orlando or St. Pete. You need a partnership with your sister and brother cities in the region. You're competing with San Diego and Houston and cities across the nation and around the world. So, you know, one thing we'll talk about is more partnerships with the regional players. West Philadelphia and Philadelphia in general, a very good University of Pennsylvania, Drexel, community redevelopment program, building with the institutions of Philadelphia. University, the hospital, all this solidly established private institutional players, the corporate market players. There's not enough of that in Tampa, and we're going to work on that. Next. And then we look at Atlanta, and Atlanta has its issues, but you know, it's got a great midtown area where you mix residential, high-density institutional, university, museum, office, and have a streetscape that really has been developed recently, over the last 20 years. I mean, Atlanta used to be unsafe at any speed. It used to be a desert after 5 o'clock, and they worked extremely hard to remake the street character of Atlanta. So that's something to keep in mind, recent and successful. And of course, Charlotte, which we hear a lot about in Tampa, probably a little too much. I think you're all a little too defensive about Charlotte. So you need to get over that. But it does have a mix of office and residential, and a certainly burgeoning financial and insurance industry that's been strong for many, many decades, as it has here in Tampa. But a very, very nice mixed-use character to residential. You can always tell residential because you see balconies, and that tells you it's residential. Office has no balconies, so you can be simply clear on how to determine that. And then you get in Charlotte this kind of relationship, which is much like Atlanta and Midtown, where you see fairly high density, single family, sometimes attached residential, high density residential, but not necessarily high rise, and not necessarily characterless, but rich residential character, small lots, sometimes almost zero lot lines, zero side lots, within the foreground of high density office and commercial. And you see here we're looking at Chattanooga with some nice high quality residential, not tall, but fairly dense, and good balconies, good relationship to views, water, public space. And then Denver, we like to talk about, there's some key cities, Dallas, Houston, Denver, that have looked at rail. They've looked at it regionally, they looked at it locally, they looked at it within the city boundaries, and they've decided a way to go forward with light rail. And I think that's a challenge for Tampa. And I know the issues and the votes and the whole business of Tampa. We'll get to that later. And then Charleston, particularly North Charleston and Charleston, this is the partnership of city and county and community and village throughout Charleston. And the Boeing exercise is a very important one. Economic partnerships where you play way above your weight economically when you make partnerships with the towns and villages and communities around you. And that's what you want to do. You want to play above your weight economically and achieve things that you never would achieve by yourself. And then we go to the Indianapolis, which is a great city for gateways, portals, downtown arrival moments, public spaces. It always amazes me when I come to Florida why there aren't bikeways and walkways everywhere. I mean, you have the perfect climate, you have the time you want to be outside, but for some reason we're not able to steal space from the cartway, and create the kind of pedestrian environment that makes a city full of amenity and energy and positive, healthy feelings. So we'll work on that. And then Minneapolis is the same, a good example of car sharing. And also, in many ways, Minneapolis has more pedestrian space, more amenity than Tampa. Now, go figure. Minneapolis has tons of snow, tons of cold weather. We get it all wrong. We get it all backwards. You don't necessarily need, you need leadership and spirit about where we're headed from an amenitizing point of view. You don't necessarily need climate, although you've got climate, so let's make maximum advantage of it. And it's interesting, I've been coming to Tampa for at least 10, 20 years. About 10 years ago, people in Tampa started thinking kind of negative about themselves. You don't hear about climate. We heard about it tonight because you people are in sync, but you don't hear it everywhere in the city. You don't hear about climate, you don't hear about amenity, you don't hear about how positive people felt about Tampa about 10 years ago. People started thinking sort of the negative side of Tampa. What's wrong with Tampa? Well, there's some things wrong with Tampa, but they're way, way outweighed by the things that are right about Tampa. And we can achieve that. Chicago. So here is the Millennium Park. You've got the museum, you've got the performing arts bandstand, you've got this water sculpture, fantastically artistic, beautifully well done, and edgy. Don't be afraid to be edgy. Don't be too, I mean, Tampa is very stable, but don't use that against you. You know, art is a place where you get edgy. And, you know, if you've seen these fountains in operation, water comes out of their faces. So it's really delightful, and it's fantastic. And Chattanooga, we've, of course, been very involved in the aquarium and the waterfront in Chattanooga. You don't need big water. You just need to make the most of the water you have. And I think you're prepared to do that. And that's, of course, the aquarium in a little city like Chattanooga. And so there's the vibrant picture of Tampa, as opposed to the picture we started with, which is sort of the dull picture of Tampa. So we want to go to vibrant. A couple of other things I want to say. I'm not a huge fan of demographics, but you've got great demographics. So who knows the second biggest city in Florida? Population, both in the city proper and in the metro area. Well, I'll help you out a little bit here. Tampa is 350,000 with 3 million in the region. So Miami is 400,000 with 5 million in the region. So I consider that the same. Tampa is not smaller than Miami. It's different. It's less dense. But from a population strength and energy, it's about the same. Jacksonville's about 821,000 with 1.3 million in the region. But they incorporated the county into their cities, so that's a skewed number. And so you look at these other cities. Charleston, 120 with 650 in the region. Knoxville, 178 with 1 million in the region. Chattanooga, 167 with 500 in the region. Nashville gets up there with 600. Orlando, who would guess the city population of Orlando? Close, it's 240. But it's much smaller than Tampa. And the region is the same. No, the region's half. The region of Orlando is 1.4 with Tampa at 3 million. So I want you to think about population energy. You've got it in Tampa. There's no reason to think too small. You don't want to think too big, but you want to be just right, sort of the Goldilocks theory of energy. Then you've got good demographics. You've got very good demographics, which is what I would call balanced, strong demographics. And what you have is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. 1/3 of the population is under 25, 1/3 is over 45, and 1/3 is in the middle. Now, did you all think that? You see, you need to, I mean, I'm from San Francisco. I don't specialize in the details of Tampa, but you guys have got to get more in sync with the strength and the stability and balance and levelness of your community. And from a socio-demographic point of view, you're 50% white, 23% Hispanic, 26% African American. Very balanced, very strong. Think about it. Don't short sight yourself. Okay, I'm going to stop there and come back later and talk about innovation. Okay, back to you, Pete. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this. What I want you to do, you've got some sheets on your table, and hopefully you haven't filled them out yet, but if you have, it's okay. Okay, here they go. So I want you to think of the one thing. You'll see this on your sheet of paper, but you can think about it before you get your sheet of paper. What is the one thing that the Tampa must do in the next 5 years? It can be on any level, any dimension, any issue, any geography, any subject. But no, don't call it out. You write it down Write it down on the piece of paper. That's all right. But try to be specific. So, you know, saying improve transportation is not quite getting there. What aspect of transportation do you want improved? So, you know, the one thing must be done in your mind, and I'll give you some other chances here, but right off the bat, you start with the one thing that must be done within 5 years. Okay, does everyone have a piece of paper now? You're going to be able to talk about this once I let you go here, table by table, but for the moment, we're going to ask you to write things down and not discuss them. This is where you commit right now to the one thing that Tampa must do in your mind in the next 5 years. Does everyone have paper and has got that done? Sure. So, everyone done? Don't make an essay out of it. Short phrase. No essay answers. We can't build an essay. We can build something fairly specific. So everyone done on that? Second question under that table, that headline. Okay, what's the second thing that must be done? We must do this. If we do anything else, we must do this. So we had the first, and now I'm giving you a chance to give you your second view. Especially if you couldn't make up your mind what the first one was, you can put it on the second. Let me see this form here. Okay, if you insist, you can put down a third must do. You don't have to, but you can. If you must, put down a third. Okay, moving right along quickly here. What is the single most important thing not to do? For God's sakes, do not do this. The single most important thing not to do. And you guessed it. Let's put down the second most important thing not to do. Yeah. Is that what you want? Summarize. Yeah. Okay, turning the page over. What, in your mind, is it's always a good idea to look back, but not look back too long. What is the single most significant achievement of the last 15 years? What do you love most about what has changed or what has been achieved in Tampa? Okay, moving right along. Write down something. Good, you're set. Okay, moving right along. What is the biggest failure of the last 15 years? The single biggest failure? See, if we get this out of our system, if we admit it, we can release it and move on. Okay. Now, we've handed out some big sheets, and we're going to ask you in a minute to talk among your table and fill in a consensus answer on the big sheets, the bigger sheets, these ones. You see these? Did everyone get one of these? So you appoint a chairman or a recorder and do that.
The honor of the big sheet is the chair.
But before we do that, just hold on just a minute. Hold on. I want to give you my innovation, my key words about innovation. So you definitely want to be innovative in how you reach consensus. Hold on a minute. You definitely want to be innovative in how you reach consensus. And so I'll give you my key words on innovation. So first is to be connected. You can't innovate if you're not connected. A word similar to connected is integrated. But I'm not a fan of that word because connected is more literal and more linear. You go out and connect with things. You connect with information. You connect with people. You connect with communities. You connect with subjects like transportation, environment, land use, open space, social and economic issues. So connected is the most key word of all other words. I know it's a word of this era, IT era, but connected is the key word. The second word about innovation is speed. You know, my father used to always say, a blind squirrel gets a nut every once in a while, but it takes a long, long time. So we don't want to be blind squirrels. We want to be fast. And you can always correct when you're fast. But if you're slow to go, you're slow to solve, you're slow to correct. So speed is crucial. Fearlessness, being fearless is absolutely crucial to innovation. You know, if you feel unempowered, if you feel weak, you can't be innovative. So fearlessness, key to innovation. So think fearless, think empowering others. Now, willingness to change used to be the phrase I used, but willingness to change is too passive. You have to be a change leader, because willingness to change is, okay, when they come at me with their full force, I'll consider changing, but I'm just considering it. So, you know, assertive change is what you want to be, not willingness to change. Showing up. What you're doing tonight is crucial. You need to keep doing it. You need to show up and speak up. Or you cannot be innovative. It's not about going into a cave and inventing a new theory of molecular structure, although that's important, I'm sure. But that's not going to help Tampa with its future. So you've got to show up. And best idea wins. Now let's talk about something the mayor talked about. Top down, bottom up, or as he said, sidewalk up. You know, innovation top down tends to be highly clear, even with great authority and great structure, but usually not brilliant. It's orderly, it's clear, it's methodical, but not brilliant. Where innovation from the bottom up tends to be disorderly, chaotic, confusing, unclear, but usually brilliant. So you need it, as he said, from the bottom up and the top down, and that's what makes innovation work, and in from the side as well. So, okay, fill out your sheets, and we'll come back to you in a little while.
As we start to wrap up, I want to have one more little refinement to what you're doing. In just a couple minutes, we want to go around the room and have each table share one big idea for Tampa. And there's 24 tables, so we're not going to go way into the drill down. One big idea, and we're going to go around with the mic. And we want to hear 24 big ideas, or at least maybe 12 big ideas and 12 really good. I second that. We'll start that in just a couple minutes. Every paper that's on the table, we're going to go ahead and pick up tonight, and all the ideas that are written down, we're going to record. All right. So Blake Drury with our office is over here on my right. Blake actually runs marathons, or so I've been told. I've never seen him run a marathon.
Why is that relevant?
Because you're going to run a marathon right now. So, one captain, one idea, one soundbite. All the ideas are important, but give us the one that you want to share with the rest of the group in a 10-second soundbite right now, and we'll just work our way through the room.
Oh, okay. We at table Uno decided that water shuttles connecting from shore to shore, not utilizing, that's the next thing that we'd like to see in the next 5 years, really improvement of the river walk, the riverways that we have, because it's something that has so much potential and it's such a treasure in this city.
Shore to shore water shuttles, great idea.
Okay. Supporting the youth and job opportunities.
Youth and jobs.
Continue to support UT and USF to give them continued prominence to take them to the next level.
Agree to a plan and funding of an effective transit network, including rail, that interconnects neighborhoods within the city and the surrounding regional activity centers.
Create no small plans by building a light rail station next to the Tampa Bay Rays Stadium.
I said nothing, but our group said developing a good multimodal transportation system.
Given that we all agree with that, we said we're going to encourage density of all use types. So that's housing, retail, office, residential.
Develop an environment or a super community to promote and attract high-growth entrepreneurial ecosystem at a regional level.
We pretty much said everything everyone else has said, so I'll add another one. Create one vision to increase political clout, similar to what's been done with Orange, Osceola, and Seminole counties. Come together as a region politically and in leadership.
To fight incorrect perceptions about downtown Tampa.
Find a voice. Tell our story by identifying and understanding what our strengths are, and give the nation and those who visit a compelling picture of a vibrant and growing city.
The single most important thing to do in the next 5 years is connectivity within the region through land, sea, and pedestrian.
To develop a multimodal mass transit system.
Create neighborhood identity by tapping into this distinct character of communities.
Our main thing is transportation of light rail needs to develop and expand from the northern side by the university all the way to the airport, especially for the working people, for every day, and for the tourists coming here.
Ours is real simple: to support a downtown baseball stadium. clean our environment, our river, our bay, and our land, and make an urban forest the best in the United States.
We need to get the citizens in the community on the same bus, moving in the same direction, and just take action.
Everybody's quick to point fingers at somebody else when it's their turn to talk.
We have attract new industry to Tampa, a Fortune 500 headquarters type company, not merely service industry, but to get a better mix of industry. We have enough back of the house, but some more front of the house industry.
Okay. Along with improved transit and walkability and continue to draw residential into the downtown core, we also said to continue marketing Tampa internationally.
We too had public transportation as number one, to include biking, boating, water taxi, et cetera, and also to improve the technology within Tampa, get more QR codes, better communication, Wi-Fi in public areas, and then to develop the neighborhood, the existing neighborhood, to enhance it, fill the retail spaces and whatnot within downtown.
Streamline regulation and permitting to attract more downtown residents by increasing density and supporting services and supermarkets.
To increase the volume of international trade through our land, air, and sea capabilities.
Develop connectivity that translates into the movement into and around the city, including transportation, rail, greenways, nice walking environment, access to sports activities, and affordability to do that.
On the riverfront, build continuous mixed-use commercial bistros, cafes, shops, residential, continuous on the riverfront.
Thank you. That's it.
Great. So we started at the river and we ended on the river. And there was a lot of discussion about transit, a lot of discussion about connectivity, a lot of discussion about business development and jobs, Fortune 500 companies, a lot of great ideas. One of the features I want to show you on the website that I mentioned earlier is the iTown. So if you go to the website, you can actually click a link and get to this page where you can submit these kinds of ideas. And there are some topics, and we're going to be happy to add some more topics. You can submit an idea, and when you put that in, other people can see it, and they can comment, and you can actually start some dialogue about whatever your idea is. So what you can see here is that, for instance, here on what are the places that are most important to connect with each other, there's already 7 ideas on there. And if you start to drill down, if the computer will let me do it, you'll see that there's a whole string of dialogue that then starts where people have ideas, people can respond, you can discuss, you can debate things online. So we're going to be watching this, and it's a chance for you to watch the ideas that your neighbors in the community have. What I want to do for the balance of the time is, first of all, I want to thank you for being here. I want to remind you of the camera exercise, and if you're interested in being one of those 30 people, to take the disposable camera and participate in that. The table is set up out here, and we can get your information. You can take your camera and the instructions. We're really hoping to get 30 volunteers to do that from across the study area. We want to let you know, again, to follow the website and participate and get your friends and neighbors in your neighborhood or in the area where you do business to participate in those walking audits and or the community meeting that will follow the walking audit. And finally, just to let you know, there's going to be a series of other kind of more focused stakeholder group meetings where we'll have a chance to sit down with various elements of the community, the partnership, the transportation agencies, UT, et cetera, and talk to them specifically about their thoughts about their aspirations for their own mission as well as for the larger community. So that's going to be going on over the next 60 days. So I think with that, I want to invite Christine to come back up and give us a closing word. And please hit the website, InVisionTampa.com. Thank you for being here. And we look forward to a lot of participation. And May 16th, Parks and Public Realm at the Convention Center, right?
Convention Center, right. Thank you, Pete. As Pete said, go to the website, and I encourage you, in addition to all the other things that you're going to do there, to RSVP for the next 3 meetings. The dates are on the website, and they're also on the schedule, your agenda for tonight. And so make sure that you don't miss the next 3 meetings, which will be as engaging and probably will be building the input for this dialogue. And also, if you want to learn a little bit more about the downtown core and its surrounding neighborhoods, I recommend the Downtown Partnerships website, which is tampasdowntown.com. And you can engage with us, and we'll help you get engaged in a lot of other things in downtown. So again, I and the mayor and all of us, I think in the city, appreciate your being here and being willing to participate in this process. It's important for your future, but it's also important for the people here. I think there's somebody here as young as 12 years old. That's why we're doing it primarily. And so thank you very much for staying engaged and get more people to join you. I'm glad that you came tonight. Thanks.